What's going on, everybody? As mentioned, as promised, I figured, you know what? Let's go ahead and come on tonight, have a mini little rant sesh, and bring some friends along. We've got Easy in the house. Eric, what's going on, brother?
What's happening, man?
Not much. So we're going to do this today. What's going on, Kathy? We got a couple topics we're going to cover, but it's also, we don't do this very often. We're going to do a little Q&A. We're going to do a little Q&A sesh. We'll look up some news. If there's questions that you guys have, what's going on? Paula, Nay, Kathy, Deandra just left the hospital. Interesting. And for those of you, as you guys are starting to tune in, as you guys know, the project that we are working on, we finally are going to have the Google Doc ready for people to start filling out tomorrow. Deandra, I would love to know a little bit more details. If you want to put them in the comment box, let us know. We're going to use special verbiage, obviously, to make sure people know what's going on. Rachel, what's up? See you in our accountability group. I love that you're in there, and I also love that you're continuing to keep me updated on what's going on from a nurse's perspective. So thank you for that. What we're going to talk about, two things. The NBA, the woke BA. I don't know, NBA woke. NBA goes woke. Wokeatopia in the NBA.
Woke BA.
Woke BA. We're going to talk about that in terms of the fact that there are some big name players right now that will not allow to be playing home games. And for those in other states without home games that require V words for not just the fans, which is already absolutely absurd, also for the superhuman athlete players as well. What's going on, Robin? How you doing? So we're going to chit chat about that. We're going to talk about all the Biden has doubled down, tripled down, quadruple down, and continues to go ham on the border agents. So I'll be paying attention. I know Eric will be too, to comments on the side. Eric, what do you want to complain about first?
Well, I want to start with some positivity, and then we'll go into some complaining.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know how many people got an opportunity to tune in to the event that we hosted today. It was an amazing and incredible thing. It definitely some heavy topics. So there's some it's kind of a long format discussion panel kind of thing, and so. But I just kind of want to relay a message to everybody, and I think this is kind of in line with where we're at as a movement with BetheChange right now, anyways. Which is, loss during life is a very natural thing. It's also incredibly difficult. And so, we had the chance to kind of go over some of those things. And I just wanted to articulate a message that I took away from it. The movement of, continuing on in life is important. And I think you'll see that, our accountability group it's blowing up right now. We've got a lot of people joining into it that are there to move on with life, to not get stuck, to not be standing still in one place, and to make progress. And so I just wanted to share a message of hope with you guys, is that, we're kind of talking about this from a health perspective right now, in most cases, but this applies across the board. We are only as stuck as the next decision we choose not to make.
Right.
And that's kind of a resounding message that I took away from this today. And so I just would encourage everybody, the next thing you do could be the thing that propels and catapults us into a better place. So let's, as much as we get kind of stuck on some of the, the semantics of things, there's a lot to be grateful for as well. And I think we're starting to see a lot more people shift their perspective into understanding where this is headed, rather than where they think from a social justice standpoint it has been. So I just wanted to start it out with some positivity and say that I've seen some things in the last couple of days. We've seen some celebrities. I think Rihanna came out and was wearing a T-shirt today in support of free speech, right? Basically saying, we speak your mind until you can't, because it's coming down the pipeline. So, I think that's encouraging. You start to see pop culture pushing back against the media narratives, and it leads you to believe that not everybody is quite as dumb as the media would allow you to believe. So, positive note is we can always affect change. That's what we're here to do. But furthermore is that, our message is starting to seep into the world in a big way, and we're excited about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was great today. I had to go to work real fast, so I was trying to do as quick as humanly possible. I gave my thing and I realized I went into talking similar to what I want to talk about. And again, we'll get into politics in just a second. I also forgot about, I got to tell Mike, because my buddy in there, Chris, reminded me of my Unveed shirt and the experience I had wearing the Unveed Lives Matter shirt at Wrigley Field. So I'm going to tell that story as well. And just the experience of certain things you see with Trump Towers in the background and just humanity as a whole. But earlier today, I help out with the events always. I put those on, and I started going down a tangent. I never came back to it, and that was the fact that we have to realize things from the universe are being set up for us. And with the guy on the screen right now, you look at the way things happen. And if you've read the book, The Alchemist, the universe and God is putting things in our path, and especially with Be the Change for us right now, and whatever you're working on. And if you could only see the private chats I've got with Barbara Daniels, who is one of the motivations behind that page, the accountability and health group. There's people that are being put in our path all along the way. Casey being one of them. Casey, for those of you, people having trouble hearing me, can you hear me easy?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Casey, what's up? Good time to join. So the interesting thing about Casey is Casey saw Cash, and I, as a lot of you guys know, you guys started following Be the Change because of Cash, and he started going, I want to get on a show. I want to be on the show. And then he had a couple friends reach out and say, I want to get on the show. I want to do this. I want to do all these. And I'm like, he is enthusiastic. We'll throw him on there as a libertarian. And you look at what's transpired in the last month, and it's got to do with the fact that a year ago, I said yes to Casey coming on a show, and then him and I developed a friendship, and he was just this great voice of reason. But God put something in my path, and I'm sure he's put a million things that I've missed, and I'm sure he's put a million things that Eric's missed, and we've all missed. But sometimes you got to take chances with things. And without Casey, he started communicating with Eric, and now we've got a team. Like, we've got Suni, obviously, it's a personality. But in terms of just the core functionality, we've got these two gentlemen, and then Kevin, who's young and hungry to create change in the world. That
huge shout out to him today too for helping out with that event.
Yeah.
I mean, he did awesome. So publicly, thank you, Kevin.
Yeah. So again, we've got a team, and all of it started because God put something in my path and said, this Casey guy. And I can't tell you how many times I've tried to create a group that can help me, because doing what and Cash is great. Cash is a personality. But when it comes to organization, we love Cash, but he is not organized. That was not Cash's strong suit. So it's still, and actually he would come up with, we were both idea people, and it was getting to the point where something needed to give. And it's great to have these three guys. Nothing better than four white males working together.
The patriarchy is alive and well.
filling the stereotype. But no, of course we've got Suni, and we've got other, and it's great to see things starting to come together. And it's all because you take a chance. There was one story that's in this book, and that's where I started talking about it. It's called Project 369 that Kelly got me. And it's a story you've heard before, that this guy prayed and he looked for help, and he looked for he went to God, and he said, what, I need something to help. And what did he do? The next day he bumped into somebody at lunch that ended up being his first client, and he made $150,000 in commissions off this person in the first 2 years. It changed the trajectory of the career. And it wasn't, it's chance. It's a little bit of luck, but it's also asking the universe for help and being aware and open to those signs. So, yeah.
Thank you for the compliment, Rachel. That is an incredible compliment, and we don't take that lightly. We really do appreciate that. Just really quickly, Anthony, I'm going to kind of jump back. There was a comment. Somebody asked how they can join the group. I know we've thrown it in the comments a couple of times.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw this up. Let's see. Actually, I'm going to put it in there too. Let me edit it here.
You can click. Yeah, you can, and you can click on it, because obviously you're not going to want to type that, but I can even put it up like this. So it's in the comment box. All you got to click on it. So
check it out. You just got to answer a couple of questions. But we're having a great time over there, doing some great things. We've had a lot of daily engagement. People are talking about wins and successes. and we're really shooting to be that change. Health as well. Yeah. So we're all trying to be a part of that.
Don't worry, soon you'll be here Tuesday. We're just going to cover some quick topics. Margaret, I'll answer that question. PTP has their own news source, their own news. They do a lot on Telegram. They do, Telegram, Facebook, and Instagram. I personally still talk to Blake. It's just two separate things. We just do two different things, and they were more oriented on constant updates. We're more oriented in, breaking the news down a little bit and making it make sense. So no, we don't typically do shows together anymore. It's been a little bit of a while, but yeah. Anyways, good to see you though, Cricket. Love it. And also, I got one last thing. Nikki's also been amazing since day one. She's been there since Cash was around, and she's helped organize things as well. So thank you guys. All right, so let's talk woke NBA real quick. So for those of you guys that don't know, Kyrie Irving, obviously still a star in the NBA. Andrew Wiggins, big name, one of the top scorers for Golden State, and Jonathan Isaac in Orlando. So here's what we got, guys. We have what could be a very big issue for the NBA. These players are unvied. And because they're unvied, there's certain stadiums that have made the decision to not just mandate the V for their people attending the game, which is already ridiculous enough. And I still don't quite understand the science, especially since in Las Vegas, Nevada, for the Raiders, you can get a V on your way in and it counts, which has been proven that the first 12 days have zero. It's literally just media, propaganda, marketing, etc. Anyways, so the NBA is afraid, according to a Fox News article, and we've also saw it. I saw it in a different publication. I think it was MSNBC.
I saw it on a Sports Illustrated article as well.
Yeah. MSN. So NBA might have a huge problem on its hands. The NBA is afraid of coalition of anti-Veers led by Kyrie Irving, according to a report. So the NBA's, according to this article, has been zeroing in on the remaining 10% of active players that are unvied, and they're running out of patience with these. Running out of patience. I love a bunch of rich white people telling black athletes that they're running out of patience to convince them after what we saw happen with the Tuskegee experiment. But anyways, it's pretty sick, pretty sad, pretty twisted. And now there's players that are going to miss half a season unless they comply. You can't tell me that this is a choice anymore. That's not a choice.
I agree. So one of the things that is striking to me in this article is that the commissioner, Adam Silver, right? His declaration is that these decisions that are being made, and I'll remind people that some of these exemptions, particularly the Andrew Wiggins one, was determined off of a religious exemption. That is one of the most sacred things we have in this country is religious freedom. It is in par with everything that we do as far as free speech. And the reason that this strikes me so deeply is that Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, has said that these decisions are based on conspiracy theories. We have been doing a lot of homework behind the scenes, trying to compile an understanding of what is not being shared in regards to the specific issues that are presented with the V. And so, one of the things that
like this.
Yeah, exactly. This is a comment we got, right at the beginning of the show. We know there are issues. Anybody who tells you that this is a safe vaccine that will not have any repercussions is just that is a broad statement that may be true for 99% of people. We really don't know the statistic at this point. But there are certain people that no matter what, their chemistry, they have pre-existing conditions that it doesn't necessarily apply for. And so when you start calling people with rational beliefs and understandings conspiracy theorists, you're just totally discounting their ability to make personal decisions, and that's scary to me when we go from, well, we would prefer as a league to have 100% compliance to we're going to single you out as individuals of the 10% that believe in something that has some verifiable evidence. And we're getting to that place where
what it doesn't have is it doesn't have verified. It's not even about verifiable evidence. It doesn't have verifiable proof that it doesn't
Correct.
have these effects. And if you look at the documentation that they're passing along, and quietly, the FDA has somehow approved the booster that was all but dead a week and a half ago, and all of a sudden it's under the radar now being an emergency use. And I'm still there's no research that I can figure out exactly what's happening with that, and it's scary that they managed to lose and then quietly win.
It's just an accounting of how terrible it is to be a person with a free mind. And that's what they're trying to take away from us. From everything that I can understand, when I go back and I look at this as a global issue, there just isn't a desire to have people think for themselves. The entire push here, and albeit at the NBA's probable expense at this point, is to force compliance or retirement. And we may see retirement. We may see people saying, that's my favorite player. I'm not going to go see the Nets play without Kyrie. If you can't go to the Golden State Warriors game and see somebody who consistently is putting up, double-digit numbers on the offense, and they don't make it to the playoffs, who are you going to blame? And these are, although seemingly silly things that may be arbitrary to most people, they have real-world consequences that are extremely far-reaching.
Yeah. So I'm going to answer this question as we go. I know we got more to talk to. These are superhuman athletes. These are the greatest in their field. The chances of anything severe happening to any of them. I know one of the guys, for the first guy that caught it, I think it was his last name, Gay. You know what I'm talking about? He was the one that joked and wiped the microphone, and then he ended up catching it. Is it Chris Gay? No. I don't know. Anyways, he is a semi-long hauler, and that's it. I think he's still playing, but there's just some issues. For the most part, these are the best of the best, and the athletes that should have zero problems whatsoever. So Tabitha, I just did a little bit of research. Walmart, there's nothing of that says anything along those lines. It does say, as of I believe October 4th, if you work on their campus. So if you work at their headquarters of any kind, they will be doing the V mandate there. Stores are not even clear at this point. So,
and I think this might be a little bit of confusion with the labor department's potential enforcement of employees. So, we're not there yet where every big box retailer is telling you can't come in unless you have this, but we are absolutely creeping in that direction every day. I just read an article today that Apple will be not only introducing digital documents for DMV, insurance, those kinds of things, but as well as essentially, I guess we call it the green card now, is what I've heard it called by some people. It depends on where you are, what you're doing, but
don't say green card. Biden will get very confused what you do.
Listen,
they have a green card. Let him in. That's no different card. God, the best meme ever, by the way. Since we're college football season is hot and heavy at this point. Have you guys seen the the meme with because as you guys know, a lot of college football stadiums. So I can't believe. Oh no, I thought we were talking about what was the other one? After what we read before, they're still making Deandra's father still get the second V before surgery, which is insane. Let's see, a lady on Facebook. I want to see that one. When's the surgery? A week later, 3 days later. Yeah, it's cool. We're pretending like this shit isn't happening. So if anybody hasn't seen this one yet, so good. So good. Oh, gosh, too much light. Well, if you're wondering what it says, you got Joe Biden with a thing over his head saying, everyone wants to have sex with me. And then that's Obama saying that's not what fuck Joe Biden means. So good. Oh man. Let's see. I'm looking at. No, it's not many questions. Yeah, I mean, Walmart's in Texas. We don't have to. We don't have to do that. God, there's a story I kind of want to tell, but I really can't. Yeah, I better not tell. But I'll give. I can't do that, so I'll give a vague idea. It's just interesting working with certain crews of people in different jobs, whatever it might be. That even when somebody is part of the same organization, the ultimate hate and distaste for the conservative is there, and they can talk shit about those people during a production meeting or whatever, during any meeting, a house meeting, production meeting, team meeting, whatever. And it's just interesting to see that it's allowed. It's just funny. It's weird to me.
What's become interesting to me is I'm a pretty private medical person. I don't like to share a lot of information. I think that's my right, and I think it's also my duty and obligation. But what has become interestingly strange to me is this is a question that almost prefaces any meeting with somebody you haven't had contact with for, I don't know, 6 months or so, or maybe less. If you haven't talked to somebody in 3 months, that's going to be a question that potentially comes up, whether it's in family, whether that's in business. And look, HIPAA laws are a little bit interpretable for every person, but one of the interesting things to me is that this has become mainstream conversation, and almost nobody should be asking any other person about their current medical status unless that is something that they have opened the door to themselves. And we're starting to get to a place where that's like an introductory question. You want to have a conversation? Great. Tell me about your status.
Yeah. I'm going to address Janet. Just get it or don't get it if you're afraid. It's not about being afraid. It's about having a belief system of what goes in and out of your body, and you should have control over that. So if there is a risk of 1 in a million that you could get injured, whether I think the statistics are much more than that, but even if it's 1 in a million, we should have consent to be able to take that risk, that roll of the dice. We should be allowed. So when you say it's not about compliance, you're actually, in fact, quite wrong, just based on the definition of the word compliance. Everyone can do what's best for them. Here's the deal. You have to trade off something. If you're being forced in order to take something that could cause you bodily harm or be able to have a job where you are making and paying your bills, which I'm a believer right now, in this case, take the risk and do what your heart tells you to do. And I feel like you'll be put in the right place. And there is organizations that are saying who hires VED and unVED alike and stuff. They're working on stuff like that. But when you say it should never be portrayed as compliance, I agree. It shouldn't be a compliance issue, but it's been made that way, not just by the government, but by forcing hands. I heard Grant Cardone talking today on Clubhouse, and he was talking, goes, I've tried to get a hold of everybody in the government. He goes, I have 700 employees. He goes, I'm not going to force the mandate. I'm not going to force it on any of them because that's bullshit, and it is. But he goes, I want to know how much they're going to try to find me. I want to know what battle is ahead of me. And nobody can even answer those questions. This is a scare tactic that businesses are convincing themselves they have to do. So they're putting it in. Businesses can do these. They're private businesses. So this mandate that's actually completely impossible and unconstitutional, the businesses are simply just following suit. Because they think that what Biden said is law, and it's not. It's actually very, very incorrect. So what's happening is compliance, Janet. This is incorrect, and it's not that we're afraid of it. We're not afraid of a prick in our arms. We're afraid of a prick as a president. That's the issue.
I'd love to give an example of this if I can.
Go ahead.
So I went to a high school in Northern California. I would say that a relatively conservative town, but very liberal ideals being taught in schools and up near Sac State. I mean, you get a good mix of people, but generally speaking, the tendency is to lean Democrat. And I only preface that to say that it was interesting to me when I was perusing Facebook. This was a couple of days now. ago, and somebody I grew up in high school with that I would have never guessed would have formulated an opinion like this. They made a post, and this was really specifically about California and its current consideration of mandating for all eligible students of age. Okay. And she didn't make a political post. She just said, I just disagree. And a myriad of people that I went to school with, that I grew up with, that I spent a lot of time with, responded to this message. One person said, I guess I don't see the difference really between this and when I transferred schools and had to show medical records to show that I was vaccinated for that kind of stuff. And yeah, maybe there is some of that going on. But I articulated a different point of view, which is that, it's significantly different because had he presented a medical or religious exemption, that would have been accepted. And that is not seemingly the case here. The other thing that was really interesting to me is that people don't seem to understand how these things are working. And so what led to is ultimately a conversation with an individual who stated unequivocally, and this is, it may not sound that asinine as I say it out loud, but as I dissect it, you'll understand. She said, what extreme side effects are you talking about? Because that's kind of where the conversation headed, right? And she said, you're spreading misinformation by putting this out here. Now, that individual responded. They actually put the Project Veritas video into the comments and said, this might be an interesting video or article to go ahead and look at. This person immediately responds and says they are an uncredible source. Well, if you go look at the court records for Project Veritas, I believe they have something like a 95 or 97% success rate when suing, particularly specifically media outlets, for misinformation that they have brought to light. Now, I can't say I agree with every tactic they use in order to get this information, and that's what gets them in trouble most often. But when it comes to raw facts, they are very reliably correct. And this person had the audacity, and this is where, again, the statement is interesting, is she says, you, in order to be informed, need to go to the CDC website in order to understand how effective this vaccine is. Now, that doesn't necessarily sound that flawed, except for the CDC only tracks numbers based on statistics of anomaly, essentially. So if you're going to the CDC to see for effectiveness, that they don't have the power, nor do they have the resources, nor do they have the opportunity to evaluate these drugs. That is the FDA's job. So I prudently posted that you should not go to the CDC to understand how effective this is. You should go to the FDA. You should be looking at their website. You should be looking at their studies to make determinations about this. That person then told me that I was spreading misinformation, directing people to the correct agency that evaluates the effectiveness and the viability of the medications that are then passed into people. This is the logic that is being brutally beaten into us. And it is because rather than saying, I don't know, people are saying, I know because Don Lemon told me.
Don Lemon.
I know because Dr. Fauci came on and told us this is what it would be. I cited 2 studies out of Israel that show the same essential underlying issue, which is that the efficacy is not anywhere. It's a third of what they told you it was. And that is
it's really good from day 12 to day 30.
Correct. Really, really and that seemingly is in line with what they're saying that these boosters might do for you. So I just wanted to point that out, is simply saying, like, these are people from my hometown. I didn't expect them to engage in a conversation to begin with. And B is that these are not uneducated people. These are well-read, well-spoken people who have done research, and yet they are still willing to look in any direction that confirms their bias. We are looking for things to confirm the bias as correct or incorrect. That's simply it. We are not looking for bias confirmation. We are looking for true understanding of the reality. So I just want to kind of highlight that because that was an interesting exchange I had with people that, again, like I said, that are on the totally opposite spectrum politically, in many ways. And yet they still are finding themselves having to fight against what seemingly is just a total brainwashing, where you can't even agree about whom the agency is that you should go to for statistics to understand the issues.
Yeah, no, it's and the other thing about the CDC is it's a collective of studies. So the same way people say that on the other side right now are saying, the crazy ones are the ones that just say go do your own research. What's funny is they say I get my information from the CDC, and I will guarantee you that none of them actually know how to look at CDC data, because their data is a subsect of hand-picked research. And in order to truly know what your findings are, which I have done these kind of research, when somebody has sent me one, I had to pick apart the article on why it's bullshit. You look at the main writers, there's always like 30 writers. You look at the top 4 of them, the first 4, and you see what kind of ties they have. And you will typically find why their biases are the way they are. And then when they say, well, these are the numbers across the country, you'll realize that 12 states were included in the study and the rest are filled in. There's so much flaw in CDC data, especially when it is CDC, just like the FDA. I mean, FDA does require, as Eric said, more specific, a different level of data. The CDC essentially gets to handpick so they can create policy. Who gets to create policy? Government. Government creates policy based on what the CDC is able to prove to them. So they are looking to prove a narrative in one case that will therefore be there for the what the government needs to put in place or wants to put in place, which is therefore, of course, backed by pharma. Going full circle, you are then looking at the CDC from a governing body that ultimately has clearly shown that one of their main pieces of information, it starts with V, ends with airs, is a report. I always have to be careful with words. Is a reporting system that is there for people to be able to know exactly what's going on. And they have managed to take a marketing and manipulative spin in the media and paint that out to be a completely false resource. So essentially the people saying, go to the CDC and check it out, you'll learn, you'll understand, are ignoring one of the biggest pieces of data, which is independent reporting based on actual hospitals and individuals, to talk about the questionable responses, the questionable reactions. And lastly, on the V word, there's that whole report that was done by Harvard that said only 1% are truly reported to the V-ers. But I do think this case it is different. I don't like sticking to that 1% because this is such a popular thing to discuss. I do think it is a higher percentage, but even at the percentage it's in right now, even say it's 50% reported or even 100% reported, there's still more than any other V in the history of wannabe Vs that they even had to change the definition of V. Like it's a game, and people are thinking like Janet that if you believe in personal choice, don't they have the same right without being called out as stupid and just being automatically... Okay, hold on. Let me read that again. I mean, did I miss a pre-comment on it?
Yeah. So Janet put in here. I'll pull the first comment real quick so we can kind of get understanding. So essentially, what she's saying is that in her viewpoint, it sounds like we're calling these people stupid because they are choosing to get vaccinated. I want to be very, very clear. I support your personal decision. The difference here, and Janet, you are welcome to come on. We would love to have you. I think that if there's a point to be made and you can make it, we're all ears. Okay, we're trying to figure this out just like everybody else. The difference here, and I think some of the examples that we've given, they're not giving choice to us, right? So those of us who have chosen not to go ahead and move forward with this are not calling other people stupid. What we're saying is that if we are to, it doesn't matter whether you have or have not had this. If you are of the mindset that you are at risk because of somebody else's personal choices, then you either are denying what is being touted as the science, or at this point, what you're saying to us is that we don't have the right to make these statements because we disagree that the science is settled. I would contend and say simply that the science is not settled. There are some questions to be answered. We are asking those questions. We are trying to compile data. We have no qualms with any person who chooses voluntarily to go and do this, where it becomes a civil liberties issue, okay? Something that the ACLU should be all over, quite frankly, is when it becomes restricted free movement, when it means I can't enter or participate in business with other people, not because of the potential for me to cause issues, but because of a social pressure. These are the differences. I'm not going to go out and call somebody like this. That would be me calling my entire family stupid. Okay. They're high risk. They're probably better with it, but there are concerns that I have. And I'm saying, why is it not allowed to be spoken about? Why are we hiding the potential things that are going on? Why can't we just be transparent? And there is no stupidity in taking it. That is a personal choice, and we will support that always for forever. What we will not support is other people making our choices for us before all of the data is in. That is a person.
Sorry.
Very good.
I'm trying to look for
I
Janet.
make that distinction because when we look at these things as a totality, anytime somebody says, "Well, you're calling somebody stupid," I'm actually not. I'm actually saying that person is doing something that they believe is in the best interest of their health. I'm not convinced yet. There's enough, at least anecdotal evidence, to say, well, we should be asking better questions.
Yeah, you're spot on. I'm not calling anyone stupid. Except for the fact that this whole the mandating it is by policy is very, very stupid.
Absolutely.
Because and anybody that chooses to get it, I completely see why you would get it right now. Every whether it's for the purposes of keeping a job. That's the thing I ask. Is that not crazy that you have to think about the fact that the reason why somebody is getting it is not because of their public health or their belief system and it's healthy? There's a lot of people that are doing it to survive and keep their job. That's where you're like, so wait, they don't even have a choice. It's literally do they feed their families or they have to look for a new job because they won't get this? And jobs are in short demand. There's a ton of jobs out there. As we all know, more jobs than there are, unemployed people. But at the same time, there's a specific thing you need to do that some people just are choosing not to. And there's a lot of people that don't know what kind of medical issues they might have, which is why there is so many of these questionable responses. Janet, I've sent you the link in your Facebook Messenger. I'll send you a friend request as well so you can see it. I don't think you're necessarily disagreeing with us. I think you might have misunderstood us to start.
Yeah. That's probably the case.
But yeah, we're definitely not calling. If you are pro V, I'm completely fine with that. I'm just to be honest, I think all of us are. If you're a pro V person, we give you thumbs up. If you're a pro V person that thinks that you must get V'd, then we have problems and we need to have a discussion.
So it's these kinds of things that are arbitrary. If you work from home, for your business to be able to tell you what to put in your body, we're no you're you are not we are not living in reality anymore. We are living in a place at this point in time where social pressure has become the only type of way of maintaining your inclusion in social groups. And this is a prime example. If you can't work from home and still avoid, either through a exemption of medical or a religious exemption, but your choice is get it or lose your job, and you're not in any contact with any people, like you tell me. I guess this is my question. That would be to you, Janet, is if what you think we're doing is calling people stupid, help me understand what this employer is saying about their employees. Like, what message do you think it would send to them to know that they're not interacting with any of their A, clients, or B, other employees? What sense does it make? At that point, that's a nucleic family issue. That's inside that home. Those decisions are absolutely protected by law. They are protected by HIPAA. They are protected by individual freedoms. Where we're getting is that you can't go places unless you have certain things, certain documents. Restricting movement within this country is against the law. Unless there is martial law that restricts it unequivocally, your freedom of movement is uninhibited. And the minute somebody does, they are violating your civil rights. So, Jen, I really wish you would.
Janet, you accepted my friend.
Would be great. Listen, and
we're
not.
Yeah, and again, I had a different perspective after I listened to Bradley. I mean, I get your point. Go find it. If you're at a job where you're not respected, for your personal choices, go do that. However, that's like the entrepreneurial spirit to say F you to that. Most people have had a career and a job for a long period of time, and to flat out tell them, I mean, I don't know what you do, Janet, or if you're just okay being told what to do, even if you don't believe in it. I think that's very unfair to just say to somebody, go. I mean, we're in a country right now where there's a huge group of people that want to pay back student loans, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. You took out money. Like, if you want to change the rules on how to pay for college, great, but you're going to take people that have just gotten done paying off loans and to tell them that their tax dollars are going to go to pay off other people's loans. Yet right now, similar people are also saying, just go find a different job. No big deal.
So,
why not? It can't be that hard.
This is one of the primary examples of rules for thee but not for me. Okay, so in these mandates that are being either kicked around, or some of them we don't even know. There's no EO that we can find and dig out that explains it clearly. But this is a very astute point, Linda, which is, why would anybody take something that is being mandated to everyone, with the exception of the elite political class? If that doesn't tell you something, I don't know what better facts I could show you that would give you a greater understanding of the divide between them and us.
Yeah, and where did her last comment go? Sorry, I was scrolling through.
And by the way, Janet, this is not a pile on Janet parade. We want to understand your logic, and really the reason we want to understand it is because although we may talk a lot about how we have reservations and maybe personal decisions that we've made, what's nice about us, and I'm speaking for Anthony here, so he can interject anytime he wants, but we're open-minded people. If you show me a data set that disproves the concerns that I have, well, I'm a reasonable person. I'm going to look at that. I'm going to verify the source, and I'm going to look objectively at the information, and then I'm going to make maybe a different choice based on that. But we have to get to a point where we're willing to have conversation so you can articulate that point.
I don't quite understand our comment here. It's very confusing.
If there's one thing both sides need to stick together on, it's individual freedoms, because the minute we lose that, we don't have a republic anymore.
No. Anyways, if she hops on, we'll talk more about that. Obviously, we'll talk more about mandates and issues as each day it becomes. Oh, that's what I was thinking. You threw up the thing on the other post about the mandates that Linda said. What's very interesting is technically a mandate based on executive order. What Biden did, it's actually only enforceable to the people that are getting the exemptions. So technically, he's allowed to be enforcing that within his own cabinet. He could do that mandate there. They're the ones saying that they don't have to do it yet. It's the biggest bluff ever played on the American public, because it does not need to be followed, but people are following it anyways. Big businesses are following it, which also makes you question exactly all the conversations.
Janet, I mean, have you paid attention to the political discourse? This became a political issue based off of political statements that were made by the now president and vice president of the United States.
So confused.
I think what she's alluding to is that anytime this becomes political, we have some sort of disconnect. That is the disconnect, is that it is political.
Right, and it shouldn't be. It should be the Constitution, freedom. It should be correct. You should have a freedom to choose things. I mean, if there's Roe versus Wade, which some of us agree with, some of us disagree with, fact is, our country is based on freedoms, even if it includes abortion. And I don't get into the abortion topic because I don't believe that it's my conversational point. But the reason why it's allowed is because of freedom of choice and the right to your own bodily choice. And that one's a gray area. This one's not. This is flat out. It doesn't get any more cut and dry. I still go to work every day, and at the school I can. Okay, so cool. Then what's your opinions on the vax? Because I can't believe I said the word like that. What's your opinion on it then? Like, because then technically, do you feel a little bit more protected or not? If you do, then you should be good. If you don't, well, then why are we forcing other people to take it? Super confused. I'm looking at your Facebook profile. I'm trying to learn more about you, but I don't know.
So, Janet, if it's a misunderstanding, that it happens. Again, like I said, we're not trying to beat you up here. We truly are trying to understand where you're coming from, because we hear this mantra time and time again that, oh, this isn't about, compliance. This isn't about, political things. Give me evidence that it's not. Show me doctors that are still allowed to be platformed on YouTube, on Facebook. Show me those doctors that were running a clinic up in, I believe it was Fresno, that came out unequivocally and made some very strong statements early on. Show me where they are now, because you can't find them. And when they silence one voice, they don't allow for discourse. And where we're at right now is, with this particular issue, we still have an incredibly high survival rate. We have an incredibly high breakthrough rate inside of our what I'll call a control group right now. There isn't good science to say that this has effectively changed anything. All it has done is kick into high gear political anger.
Well, and I see that you're saying, so you believe in working in spite of that, and I give you credit. It is your job. You've chosen to be an educator. And it's not, when you say your kids have an education. So here's what's interesting. placing this odd superiority. This comment frustrates me more than any of the confusing stuff you've said. So when you're saying your kids to other people, those are the same people that right now may not be able to keep their jobs just because you feel as though you're protected, kind of, I guess, and that you've done the right thing. It's not somebody else's kids. You're their educator. You're their teacher. For the time that you have them in the classroom, to think of it as not your children means you're not doing your job. Those are your kids that you're teaching. There's parents out there that are relying upon you to not place your values on them, but to educate them based on an already kind of mediocre system. But you're not working in spite of that. You're simply doing your job. Plain and simple. And it's when we have not made it political. We have said that it is based on the right. I'm scared that you right now. I'm starting to get scared that you're a teacher. Because
it's concerning to me as well. I was going to go off on a rant here, and if you don't mind, I will. Janet,
please. She's starting to annoy me now.
As an educator, you, of all people, are in a particularly unique situation. You are tailoring the next generation's understanding of our past, of our economics, of our history, of statistical information. Extrapolating true facts is ultimately what you should be helping your students do. Now, the only political statement that's been made here, I believe, was from you about this is not a Dem versus Republican issue, and I would wholeheartedly agree. This is a humanity versus virus issue. And what we're saying is that the path that they have laid out, when you run the numbers, it just doesn't add up. And so unless somebody has an X variable that they have not shared with the public, the equation reads basically in a linear way that is decipherable to be nonsense. It's not what they said it was. Understanding that science is the practice of refining information and drawing conclusions. These are ultimately one of the gigantic issues that I have as I have a kid entering school age, knowing that there are teachers out there who are putting this out as though it is not a political issue. When you have the sitting president of the United States and his vice president both saying they would not take this because of the person who was in charge prior to their presidency. If that's not a political statement, I don't know what is. We are not trying to make this political. We are trying to deduce what is fact from fiction. We are trying to take the statistics that are forced down our throat through mainstream media every day, filter out using correct understanding of how those stats got to be where they are, and extrapolating the information to draw conclusions. That is the scientific method. And as a teacher, the statement that you've made here, Dems or Repubs don't have teachers' backs. Who do you think are the predominant majority of every teachers union across this country?
And honestly, and you brought up unions, thank God, because when you say Dems or Republicans don't have a teacher's back, what would you like them to be doing more than already? The only thing that teachers are is underpaid to a point. But you guys have the worst fucking unions on the planet that have actually held students back. To be honest, now that I'm trying to put a couple things together based on your inability to listen, I've also invited you. We've had multiple links sent to you. You said you're computer illiterate. Why are computer illiterate?
How are you computer illiterate and an educator?
How are you an educator if you can't even learn how to click a link? Like, let's be honest. If you are a teacher, this shows how broken the teachers' unions are, because you should be tested continuously.
The school should be, look, I'm not going to advocate for your firing, but they should be able to give you a litmus test. And if you are not proficient in using a computer in this day and age, you are not doing a service by anybody by being an educator. It is a
Yeah.
fundamental reality that you must be able to do these things. So if you're going to not want to come on, that I understand. We're not, again, I want to understand what it is you're saying, because it's inarticulate, to say the least. You've been able to shift our conversation from a tone I thought that was, going in a positive direction, to one where we're sitting here saying, well, hold on a second, why is this a political issue? And to be frank, you know what? You're a teacher. That means that there's a 99% likelihood that you are part of a union. And one thing I will tell you, as somebody who grew up in an educator's home, the union will sway you in whichever direction they think is going to earn them the best return on their investments. So if they think that voting for a Democrat because they're going to allow school money to be perpetually wasted, guess what? Your union is going to expect that you donate your union dues to their political PAC. Let's not get it twisted, guys. Teachers are great people. I implore you to applaud the teachers of this country. They are dealing with hard things. But if you're going to get on here and say ignorant things, then I'm going to call you out on the carpet. You are not a good educator. You have taken a political stance on an apolitical issue. You are not willing to accept, nor hear, nor understand the facts in order to draw reasonable conclusions. Janet, you are one of those types of people that we talk about often, that hears a snippet, understands what you understand, draws conclusions, and then wants to bully pulpit everybody else into believing what you're saying. It is absolutely your personal choice. And anybody who's getting in between me and a personal choice is going to find themselves in a precarious position. It is not your place as an educator to have such a political stance. If anything, you should be encouraging your students to turn to their parents for counsel. You should be encouraging the entire administrative staff at your school to make this a non-political issue. Please do your job. When you are at school, educate those children. But when you are here and making political statements, understand that our viewpoint of what you are saying is that you are unqualified to do the job.
100%. And we're not giving 15 minutes of fame. This is the closest we get to having a conversation with somebody that has an opposing viewpoint. So since they weren't able to make it on, this isn't about, I'm not trying to blow them up, and this was a Q&A. And I think it's important for the people that watch us to see. I mean, we gave ample chances, and I don't even know what side of the political spectrum she's on. I just know it's on a side that scares me that she's teaching is whatever it is. But ultimately,
I didn't mean to rant too much.
No, that was spot on.
Educators have a dear heart, and it is such a sacred position to take. And so, thank you for doing it. But just please take yourself out of the political hat for a minute and think about this in real terms.
Yeah, that's it. And again, it's about showing what a conversation looks like. We are never. When she had a comment that said that this page is all about being against Dems. We're against a lot of Democratic leaders. We also talk poorly about some Republican leaders as well. We're currently against the way that our government is treating the American public.
As a general rule.
General rule, yeah. It's not just Democrats. I think that the Democrats are currently worse. That's no doubt. But when it comes to having a conversation with a fellow American, I don't care what political side you're on. If you agree or disagree, I'd like to have a conversation. And then we just went a little further down the rabbit hole and realized that it's terrifying that there is a teacher involved in the conversation. So that's it. All right, and I see a lot of people talking about how they switched. I was a lifelong Democrat myself. I switched in anywhere from 2010 to 2012, depending on how you look at it, 2013.
Now, see, we can all get on board with this statement right here, okay? Yeah. Almost every single representative we have right now is not looking out for the best interest of their constituents, but the best interest for their career. Sad days, guys.
Okay, one more teacher comment. So I had some people tell me they're scared that I'm a teacher because I have conservative views. Here's the interesting thing, KD. If you were to ever put anything political in your room, you would lose your job that day. If you were to put a Trump 2024 sticker, if you were to put Reagan 84, or if you were to get into politics at all, you would be canned in a fucking split second. Whereas it takes like levels, like you wouldn't, like a kid recording the teacher, like Casey. I think that it was it a Utah teacher? Is that why Casey? Yeah, the teacher. We had the video where going off on a student, calling them an idiot, saying their parents are stupid, saying you shouldn't listen to their. It took that, which therefore that wasn't the first time she had that conversation. There's no way a kid pulls out his cell phone right away. This is a teacher that beat the crap out of her students to try to force an ideology out of them. And that's what it took to get let go. Whereas we're on the conservative side, honestly, your leash is so narrow that a way to describe it. Sure, your leash is so short, fuse, that you don't really have that option. So I think conservative teacher is the only way to go. But that's why if it was 95% conservative teachers, maybe we'd be in the opposite way. It's not a great idea. It's not great to not have balance, and I think we've lost that. Anyways, we'll talk about Biden and the border on Tuesday's Truth Will Set You Free. Ron Paul is amazing. We'll talk about that then. He's just doubling and tripling down on something that's absolute bullshit. And again, even Tulsi Gabbard's stepping up and talking about it, how horrible he is. And this statement against whatever, horrible. Last thing I'll say, because it's pertinent, probably won't talk about it on the show. So I haven't told you this, Easy. I'm in Chicago, and Kelly and I were walking up the street. What's that?
Chi-Town.
I think I did see blood spatter on one wall underneath Lower Wacker, and I'm not actually kidding. The city is a complete shit show. That's one statement.
Shameless plug, guys. Just so you know, when we're talking with everybody right now, we're absolutely putting on the awake because we are not woke. All right, no. And that is the message underlying all of this is we're not going to just accept facts because somebody said it. We're going to do some research. So shamelessly plug Awake Not Woke, awakenotwoke.myshopify.com. Get out there.
Go ahead and put the link up there when you can. Go throw it up there. I'll tell this Trump story while you're half listening. I do like Tulsi Gabbard too. I don't know who this is. Their comments have been really kind of like oddly funny along the side. Let's see.
I know who it is.
And this is actually really funny. There's a guy and his kid, right? And I'll end it after this about the wearing the Unvied Lives Matter shirt, which was hilarious at Wrigley Field. And I have an interesting anecdote with that too. So this guy, and I'm like, what is he doing? The Trump Tower's behind him. He's got like a 5-year-old kid with him. He was Hispanic. I don't know what kind, but Latin, Hispanic, whatever. And I'm like, is he pointing at it? I'm like, oh, he's pointing at the Trump thing. And then I realized that he wasn't sneaking this. Like, he was being very clear to his child what he was doing. And he was throwing up the middle finger and then taking the selfie with Trump, the Trump Towers. And it's like, I get it. We freedom of speech. We're allowed to do what we want, but it shows he's teaching his 5-year-old to put a big fat fuck you on a building, and it's just teaching a child hate at 5 years old, and it's like I wanted to say something. I had already, by the time I realized what he was doing, because Kelly and I kept walking because he was taking forever, and he was like celebrating what he was doing and showing his kid and doing the selfie. I kind of wanted to be like, is that something you're trying to teach your child? I don't know. It's sick. So anyways, I wore my Unvied Lives Matter shirt all around town as much as I could. Got a lot of love for it. It's interesting. The people that are not willing to speak up, I think, in life in general, are the ones that'll just give dirty looks. I had one bartender talk shit. She said, how does she say it? She goes, because it's got Unvied Lives Matter. You can see it on the website. She goes, if your life matters, then you should probably care about yourself. Like it was her snide way of telling me, like, if you really thought, like, I'm wearing my mask behind a bar and all these, I'm like, Jesus, I don't want to order this beer so bad now, but you don't own the bar and I only have 10 minutes. So my buddy, I'd met my buddy there, but I'm like, it's amazing. And then she went to the other bartender. They like, hey. But this is the interesting anecdote. You want to know something? Guess the demographic. Guess the demographic that most commented on how they liked my shirt.
I mean, personally, what I have seen is it's women between the ages of typically 25 to 40 are the ones that really take a hard look. And then men are doing a lot of thumbs up. And I see that across, early 20s to, older years particularly. But I am curious to know what was the demographic you were dealing with.
Black dudes. Black dudes love the shirt. Loved it. Like all the street vendors, there was a bunch of couples in the actual, it was like black dude with the white girlfriend, and they would yell at me from up in the stands as I walked by, and they're like, love the shirt, bro. And it's like, the white people around them didn't want, whether they agreed or liked it or not, they legit, everyone with the beard was a dead giveaway. I had a dude in a wheelchair with the beard that had a pink hat on and was like, I love that shirt. There was so many people that said it. Then there was also the dirty looks. The ones with the dirty looks minus the bartender. Bartender is in a power position, she's the bartender. She thinks she's the shit. But there was only dirty looks. Nobody actually had the balls to say anything besides the bartender. I wish they would have.
Well, that is the point, guys. Yeah, so I just have to point this out. Right? I mean, you're not seeing this on the news because these are the absolute epitome of clashing narratives. When you have Black Lives Matter and generally speaking, the conservative movement getting on board with something, that something must be afoot, right? So when you have a very politically active group essentially saying the same exact things that we've been saying, that are completely on the other side of a political spectrum, that is how you know that it is not truly a political issue, that there is something sinister or potentially, at the very least, unspoken about what's happened right now. And I will point out that Black people in this country are unvaccinated at a much higher rate. I believe it's something like 65% of that community has not received not even the first of the 2 and potentially 3 that we're going to see. And I want to point that out because
the government has taken advantage of them at a medical level before us.
Correct.
As unassuming white liberal or white anything. The government's got our best interests in mind. We're white. It's been like this forever. No, Black people are like, no. We have a whole team now, and they do not hashtag Tuskegee experiment.
Listen, if there's one thing that people are getting behind right now is it's realizing that, look, I want to be in charge of my own life. And that doesn't matter what movement you're a part of, really. And I just would encourage people to continue to think that way. I want to be in charge of my life too. And if the decisions I make impart bad wisdom upon my own head, that's a crown I'm willing to wear. Are you? If you haven't done your research and it turns out that you're wrong, are you okay with yourself? It's a fair question.
Yeah. 63% of Hispanics are also not bad. Yeah, I mean, for some odd reason, we've been lulled into just trusting things. Again, it could be just fine. I don't see enough research for me to say it's fine. Some people are getting mad at this guy, but some of his comments are really funny. So, and his name is Private Parts Sade. Private Parts 880. I don't know. 8 inches long. I don't know. I think he's kind of funny personally. I don't know what he's talking about, but it's good. All right, that's all we got. We're going to talk more. Let's see. We're going to talk more
Tuesday. Yeah, so we got Truth Will Set You Free Tuesday. We're going to hit. What's our main topic that day?
stuff. I've taken notes. Let's see. Let me see if I have it on this notebook. What are we going to talk about that day? I don't know. What
I
I
will
got.
say I'll plug this too. As we've got along this week, we do have Kevin LaRusso's debut show, 7 p.m. I want to say on Wednesday. That will be 7 p.m. Mountain Time, so 9 p.m. Eastern Time. You guys will definitely see a reminder come out for that. He will be having on, I believe his name is Joe Bob, if I'm not mistaken.
It's not private parts.
It may very well be. But I'll kind of plug his show since he's not here to do that for him. But we've got some great content coming out. And Anthony, what do we got for Truth Will Set You Free?
Yeah, we'll definitely be talking about the stuff at the border with Biden, more about mandates. I want to do some more research and figure out what the heck happened with the boosters and the FDA when I thought it was pretty much done. What?
Here comes the question. What happened to Concert Ventures? Guys, we have been pumping out a ton of content these last few weeks, along with making sure that we're able to support you guys, make sure that we're attacking the issues head on. I don't know. I think we could probably get a Concert Ventures episode in here pretty soon. It's probably this week is going to be a little tough. We've got Casey's traveling. Kevin's got some studying he's doing for some school stuff. But I'm confident to say, Anthony, unless you disagree, we'll probably have that back 2 weeks from now would be my guess.
That'd be a goal. I have my Wednesdays are full for a bit, but it doesn't mean we can't put it someplace else. I also am going to have a guest for Changemakers on a random Thursday night. I believe I got Dave Dahl coming on. Dave is was one of the creators of Dave's Killer Bread, fellow patriot. So we're going to have him on as well. That'll be cool to just get a good chat with him. I think that's going to be next Thursday, I believe. Next Thursday. And we're going to be talking. We have to carefully talk about it, but we're going to talk about the Arizona election results and dissecting whatever that is, because one side says perfectly fine, the other side said, but the thing is, it's all the same document. It's how to dissect it. What I will say is this, and I'll leave it for the show, is the cyber ninjas put together one hell of a document for a company that nobody took serious. Like that was, I read through there. I mean, it was very well organized. It was very professional. It had perfect data and organized data, and it raised the, kind of questions that we need to be asking. But I need to do more research because that shit's complicated as a son of a bitch. And nobody is reporting. One side's reporting, I told you so, and the other side's reporting, I told you so, and I really can't tell what the truth is. So,
and then last thing, I just want to encourage everybody. We really are seeing some traction in our accountability group, and if you're not a part of it, I would encourage you to, at the very least, go check it out. We're all on a journey together. I'm going to share a little bit of my personal real quick, and then we'll kind of jump off here. I'll let Anthony close out, but I need to lose some weight. I want to get some healthy. It's really important to me. So I kind of, run down, this weekend we went up, we did some building of a cabin, which was extremely good exercise. It kept my hands busy. But guys, this isn't just about weight loss. This is about building a happier, healthier life. I think I said it earlier, health is wealth. Take an opportunity, come check it out. We're not there to hold your hand and make you feel good about bad decisions, but what we are absolutely going to do is hold each other accountable in a respectable way. And ultimately, I think what we're seeing already is tremendous life changes that probably wouldn't have come about had they not had the support to feel like they could express, get opinions, and ultimately have somewhere to come back to be held accountable for those actions. And I'll praise Russo. The man's carrying around a jug of water because he doesn't seem to know how to drink it otherwise, which
I know.
That speaks to some intelligence. So I get, if everybody's a little confused with what's going on here, but no, these are the types of changes we're making. They may be small, but they will have significant impact in your life. I encourage everybody to check it out.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's great. A great segue to the end, which is pretty much in. But here's the group. It's also up there. Again, always check out all of our stuff. We've got fun stuff. We've got about 3 or 4 more t-shirts we're working on right now. If you're looking for motivation, we had a 3-hour show today that was fantastic. Easy, Kevin, they killed it putting it together. And helping with the background, and Jeff Martinet always brings out great guests. Let's see. I guess I can't I don't get what I feel like she's like an hour behind, maybe like 10 minutes behind because I'm seeing her reactions. Maybe we're just miscommunicating. She had the link to jump in at any time. She can reach out and send messages.
Janet, we're happy to pop on, have a quick conversation anytime. So, feel free. And it does. There's no need for it to be an argument. You can state your side. We'll state our side. We're happy to have civil discourse. It is absolutely necessary.
Yeah. If you like the Awake hat, it's BetheChange written on this. It's got a patch for BetheChange here. It got the Awake on the front. It is on the website. Same place, wherever that link was that he posted up top. There it is. And then use 20% code Wake Up. That's it. If you guys can't tell, I'm starting to get really tired. So it's been a long couple of days. I'll be working a bunch the next couple weeks. So just be the change you wish to see in the world. Be awake and not woke. Anything else? Or is that it?
That's it.
Deuces. It's a smiley face. Oh.
Oh.
So wait, private parts. Oh.